Okay, happy Friday. This is a video for the the Kiwi Ears Melody. It's Melody. That's what's got me confused. If you're interested in my latest collaboration that's coming out, you have to be a subscriber. You don't have to subscribe. I can't ask for you to do that. But if you are a subscriber and you comment below this video, that comment qualifies you for that set. And if you genuinely like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. And somebody's going to be drawn for a previous set in this video, and I will place it somewhere when I edit this video. This is a set. Let me go ahead and put up the spider graph. I'm working on this. It looks really ghetto. Bear with me. Growing pains. My reference points are same as usual. Bass, mids, treble, resolution, stage, tonality, and value. This is just such a super subjective exercise, but let's do it anyway because I get asked all the time. Bass, mids, treble are self-explanatory, really. Resolution, as I say in all my videos, ability to perceive subtle nuances, finger slides on a fretboard, like that, that you know are there, but you don't necessarily expect to hear it all the time. But when you do, it steps out and you're like, wow, that sounds awesome. Stage is a psychoacoustic illusion. IEMs are earplugs, the ability for you to feel like you're in a crowd, amongst a crowd with things behind you and in front of you is really, it's part of the science of psychoacoustics. There are other things that can play into that, but these are not the same as headphones, particularly open back like the one that right in front of you, the HE6 SEV2, which I can hear ambient noise that's in this room, which is just like if I were in a crowd. IEMs don't give you that, but sometimes it sounds like there's a bigger stage or you are amongst a crowd, and then there are definitely sets that make it sound like you're in a closet. I'm talking about IEM, so keep that in mind when I talk about stage. Tonality is very much expressed by frequency graphs. It's actually the best thing. That will tell you if something is warm and bassy. That will tell you if something is bright and lean. That will tell you if something might be shouty. That will tell you if something is going to be maybe dark because of a precipitous roll-off. So tonality is the first and biggest thing that you can get from frequency response graph. Value is the most subjective of this because I might like something that's more expensive and make it higher in the value scale because I wouldn't buy the other two. So keep that in mind. That being said, I think that with bass, treble, tonality, and value, I prefer the newest one, the Kiwi Ears, which is of course cute because it's the latest one. I think Kiwi Ears has had a great 2023, and I think this is the planar that matches my library. It plays back in the way that I like to play back. The mid stage and resolutions I would say would go to the S12. In particular would be the Zeos collab, the gold and black one that had slightly elevated bass, kind of balanced out the sharpness that had in the treble for me. Wasn't a huge fan of the treble for the S12, all of its variants, but I do like it overall. It's a good set. The 7 Hertz Timeless 2 is probably going to come along quite soon, and based on what I've heard and what I've seen and what I've listened to some demos, it's going to be quite the set, but I can't put that in this evaluation yet because it's not out in the public yet. So these are two sets that you're familiar with and one that you're not, the one I'm speaking about right now. Let's talk about music. In the low end bass, like we're looking at right here on the screen, I think that this does better than all the planars prior to it because that low end in the mid bass particularly is offset by the fact that this is a planar driver, which is more akin to a BA than a dynamic. Are you following me? Let me explain. A dynamic driver is really good at doing the low end, but it's really bad at doing a lot of low end and not impacting the quality of the mid frequencies. Balanced armatures are partly designed to rectify that, particularly for monitoring people on stage. I think musicians on stage were using IEMs prior to really it being a retail consumer market type of item because it could separate the frequency bands more effectively and make for a better monitoring, self-monitoring, group monitoring. I believe that's the case anyway. Ultimate Ears came along and kind of brought that to the masses along with a couple other companies. It does the low end, not quite as good as DD, but it sounds realistic and it doesn't have the penalty that kind of leaks into the mids because when you task a dynamic driver with a lot of energy in the low frequency, it has difficulty getting back and articulating mids and treble in a good and what might be to you an accurate way. And balanced armatures are better at doing that, if not sounding not quite as authentic in the timbre and overall just the force of a dynamic driver. Planars are kind of like balanced armatures in that sense, that you can boost up the planar bass and not quite get the mid penalty as quick. like a balanced armature because it's the way it's a film with traces in it. It's not a giant motor structure with a cap and the big diaphragm that's extending the excursion, the retraction, and the return to stationary, which is a single hertz. 55 of those in a second is 55 hertz, and that's the same as a balanced armature and a planar. But the recovery speed or the sense of that seems to be better with planars and with balanced armatures. I would always take a DD for the bass when I can, but I do like combining DDs with other drivers and putting the DD in the low end because that seems to be where it does best. Some sets break that rule, like the Singularity over there, but that's the exception to the rule. I generally find that dynamic drivers struggle with a lot of bass and maintaining good mids, equaling vocals being done well. Having said that long ramble, I think stuff like Bonham's kick drum sounds excellent. It sounds authoritative. Robert Plant's vocals that come into the track after when the livery breaks, I think sounds excellent. Black Sabbath, the bass pulls and releases. I was listening to Timmy's set yesterday. This set is really good, and it does that really good because planars are great at kind of separation. Masking is not a problem with planars quite as much as with dynamic drivers, as I over-explained. So I think the bass on this is good. It's good for my library stuff with like Tupac, stuff like Bob Marley, rock and roll with 4-string bass guitars like AC/DC, and other groups like that. So the bass is a 7 out of 10. I think the mids, stuff like Chris Cornell that I listen to a lot when I do my evaluations. I got a lossless version of this actual play. Sounds excellent. Female vocals actually sound pretty good too. They do actually sound just a little bit husky, which is okay, but that is something that a lot of people who are fans of stuff like The Variation prefer not to be touched. And so this wouldn't be the planar probably of choice for you. Female vocals do get slightly impacted by the elevated mid-bass. The treble, Vivaldi, sounds really good. Verdi, Tchaikovsky. The emphasized bass, while it might get in the way a little bit of female vocals, doesn't have the same impact on strings or any part of the orchestra that I'm picking up clearly like I do with, like, let's say the Fat Frequency Scarlet Mini. It's great for rock and roll. It's great for hip-hop. It's great for reggae, EDM, trip-hop, all of those. It's really not ideal for female vocals. It's obvious when you listen to it. You can, but ideal? No. That's what happens with elevated mid-bass. The resolution on this is a 7 out of 10. I think it sounds really good. That's the person that's practicing Randy Rhoads. The finger slides up the fretboard. Planars, again, kind of excel here. The precision of planars and the way that they sometimes sound almost too fast with decay. Can you understand? You should. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about, a note, let's say my hand, hits the table. The fundamental of that is existing for just a quarter of a second or less as my knuckle struck the wood desk. After that is the decay or the overtones. That's the resulting energy and sound of that kind of goes off from that. Planars do that kind of weird sometimes. And some people find it to be unnatural, and they kind of put that on the stage. They see the stage as being 2D or stuff like that. I get what they're saying, but my thing is different. I think that planars have a unique speed of decay that is noticeable to the ear and draws your attention sometimes, and that is to all planars. Not to headphones so much, but so far in all the IEMs I've listened to, that kind of jumps out to me, and it's like I call it a planar hum. And now you probably are totally lost. That's my way of describing the unique properties of a planar replay that are audibly different from a dynamic driver and a BA. I think the Kiwi Ears is an excellent set. I think it looks really nice. I think it's priced well and it's price competitive. I think if you have a library like mine that I mentioned in this video, it's probably the best in its price range that you can get right now. They did a really good job. I'm sure they didn't tune that with me and mine, but when I listen to my library and I compare it with the 7 Hz and the S12, I would take this one because it gives me the benefits of a planar, which is ability to do low end without killing the mids, and the clarity and resolution beyond that because it's a planar and that's what its strong point is. So it's simulating a dynamic driver by the boost, but it has all the good points of a planar beyond that. That's my review for the Melody. Very nice set. Don't forget the giveaway. My latest collaboration is coming out. If you're a subscriber, you don't have to subscribe, but if you are and you comment below, that qualifies you, and a thumb up for the video would be appreciated. And I hope you guys have an awesome week.